Hey, happy fall, y'all. Smoking Joe Lasher here, and I'm excited that you're here with me at the Ingles table because today I'm cooking up some amazing smoked Cajun meatloaf, and I can't wait for you to try it. Let's get started. So, what we've got is a nice hot pan with a couple of tablespoons of vegetable oil. We're gonna pop in some celery, some diced red pepper, some diced yellow onion, 3 white onions, and a jalapeno pepper, and some garlic. And that already is absolutely smelling this up delightfully, deliciously. We're gonna stir that in. We're gonna let that onion start to turn a little translucent. Really all the vegetables becoming a little translucent. Keep it going. If you've got a higher heat, higher temperature, just keep that going. What we're doing is making a nice pepper mixture to mix in with our meat. So once that becomes nice and translucent to your liking, we're gonna go ahead and add in some Worcestershire sauce. We're gonna add in some of your favorite hot sauce, whatever you like. We're gonna add in a little bit of beef broth. We're gonna add in some tomato ketchup. We're gonna add in just a bit of Creole mustard. And then we're gonna finish that off with 2 tablespoons of your favorite Louisiana style dry rub. We're gonna mix all of that in. Boy, that pepper will get to you. We're gonna mix all that in very well. Let it simmer for just a couple of minutes. And then what we're gonna do is, when that's nice and mixed and simmered down, we're gonna remove it from the heat, put it into a separate bowl, put that in the refrigerator for 30 minutes or so. We're gonna let it cool down completely. While we do that, we're gonna go mix the meat mixture. All right, folks, so here we are. We've let our pepper mixture cool down. Now we're gonna go ahead and mix the meatloaf. Now, if you've noticed, I've washed my hands, taken my gloves off. Very important. Take your ring off if you're wearing one. We don't want to lose that. It's always easier to do this with bare hands rather than with the gloves. Those gloves just get super sticky. So what I've got is I've got about 1.5 pounds of ground chuck or whatever ground beef you'd like to use. I like using venison sometimes. I've got about 1/2 pound of ground pork. You can use pork sausage if you like, but be careful, it might add extra flavor into it. And then what I have here is some andouille sausage. I've bought it, it was in the casing, it's already pre-cooked, but I cut it up into tiny cubes or as small as I could get it. I'm gonna put that right into there. That's also about 1/2 pound. We've got some breadcrumbs, about 1 cup. Again, you can use seasoned if you want, but all of the seasoning we want is gonna be in here and in the glaze. So we've got a cup of breadcrumbs, we got 1 lightly beaten egg, and then we're gonna take our cooled down pepper mixture, put it right into there, and again, no way around it, we're gonna get just a little dirty here. We're gonna put our hands into there and we're gonna mix this. And I say thoroughly, but loosely. It doesn't have to be like super tight mixture. Just continue to turn your bowl, mix that in. You wanna let that pepper mixture cool down at least to room temperature. You don't have to put it in the fridge, just makes it go a little quicker. Because if you put it in steaming hot, it's gonna actually start to cook some of the other ingredients. We don't want that. We want to be able to form this nice meatloaf. And you can see why you would take your wedding ring off. While I'm doing this, I've got my smoker preheating to 165 degrees. If you don't have a smoker, you can simply bake this at about 350 to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. But with the smoker, what it's going to do at 165, it's going to allow some smoke to really infuse into this, give it a nice smoked flavor, which is what we want, or what I like. So I'm going to transfer that to my cutting board. And I'm just going to form that into about 2-inch thick rectangle shape, just a nice loaf. And then, I'm just gonna take it clean there. I like to keep a couple of spatulas. If you have a big pizza spatula or something like that, that will work. I like to keep a couple right here. I spray down. What I've got is a baking rack here, cooling rack, whatever. I've got a foil lined pan because these drippings are gonna come off whether you're in the oven or on the smoker. It's gonna make cleanup a lot easier. I'm just gonna take these spatulas, I'm gonna transfer this right over to here just like so. Pull that out. You don't want to press too hard downward. That's why I like to form the loaf here and then move it over to here. So I'm going to take this out to my smoker. It's cooking at 165 right now. I'm going to give it about 1 hour, let that smoke infuse. After an hour, I'm going to crank it up to 375. I'm going to set a timer for about 45 minutes, check the internal temperature, and I'm going to put some glaze. We're going to make the glaze. We'll start to glaze that, and then when we get to 165, we're gonna bring it right in and have a finished product. All right, folks, so we've got our meatloaf on the smoker. Now we're gonna go ahead and make the glaze, and it's really very simple. Tomato ketchup. I mean meatloaf and ketchup. Is there any other kind of ketchup? Tomato ketchup. So we're gonna start with a base of ketchup. We're gonna add our favorite Louisiana-style hot sauce. Whatever yours is, add it in as much or as little as you want. Same thing with a distilled white vinegar. This is a couple of tablespoons. If you like a little more vinegar taste, add a little more into it. There's no real science to that. Brown sugar, you gotta have it. It's gonna make that glaze up nicely. It's gonna connect with that ketchup right on top of the meatloaf and really glaze up nicely. And then the last thing we have here is another tablespoon or so of the Creole mustard. I'm gonna pop that in there. We're gonna give that a good mix. And I like to put this over just a little bit of heat, simmer that. Let those flavors kind of meld together, if you will. The brown sugar will go right in with that ketchup and mustard. It's just gonna be delicious. And like I said, a little extra hot sauce, a little extra vinegar, doesn't hurt. So, we've got our meatloaf on. We're about 30 minutes before it's done. I've set a timer for 45 minutes after I increase the temperature to 375. I'm gonna go out, take a look, internal temperature check. We're gonna drop this glaze on top. You can either pour it over or brush over, whatever you wanna do. Once you get an internal temperature of 165, that's gonna be ready to pull and eat. And I've got one ready to go right here. So we're gonna pull this right out, and you can see how that ketchup and that glaze set up, that smoked outside of the, it's almost a bark, if you will. Let me grab my spatula, pull this right over to here. I've let this one cool, obviously, just a little bit, or I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm gonna set this to the side. Oh, you can see, line that pan, because all I gotta do is pull this foil off, and it's gonna make a very easy cleanup. So let's just pull this over and cut into it and see what we've got. Cut this right in the middle. And what we have here is a beautiful smoked, delicious Cajun meatloaf. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today at the Ingles table. Make sure that you explore the rest of the site for so many more wonderful fall recipes, and I'll see you next time.